The story opens with a sharp, high-stakes confrontation in a premium airport departure lounge. Ethan Caldwell uses a weapon of mockery, his pointing finger and cruel laughter, to verbally attack Zara, questioning if she can even afford to fly business class in such an elite terminal. It establishes a stark contrast between Ethan's loud, arrogant display of wealth, complete with his trophy girlfriend in leopard print and designer accessories, and Zara's sacred stillness and understated elegance in her simple white blazer. This sets up an immediate emotional hook, the audience's desire to see a dignified underdog overcome a cruel, wealthy antagonist. The first laugh cut through the air like broken glass. Ethan Caldwell stood in the middle of Terminal 3's premium departure lounge, one arm draped possessively around a woman in a leopard print dress, the other hand pointing directly at Zara Mitchell. His voice carried across the marble floors, past the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the tarmac, past the other travelers pretending not to stare. "Wait, Zara. Is that really you?" His grin was wide, predatory. "I almost didn't recognize you without the legal team I had to pay to make you go away." The woman beside him, blonde, younger, dripping in gold jewelry, giggled into her manicured hand. Her eyes swept over Zara's tailored white blazer, her simple leather handbag, her understated elegance, and found them all lacking. "Ethan, is that her?" Ashley's voice was sticky sweet with manufactured concern. "Oh honey, I love that blazer. Very sensible. Did you get it at one of those outlet stores?" She turned to the small crowd that had gathered. "I always say there's nothing wrong with bargain shopping if that's all you can afford." Zara stood perfectly still near gate 415, her expression unreadable. She held her boarding pass in one hand, her phone in the other. She didn't flinch. Didn't look away. The quiet around her felt almost sacred, like the stillness before a storm breaks. Ethan stepped closer, emboldened by the audience. Several passengers had their phones out now, recording. This would be on social media within minutes. He loved an audience. "Tell me, are you flying economy? Or did you splurge for premium economy this time?" His laughter was cruel, surgical. "I'm just asking because that handbag looks like it came from an outlet mall. I mean, I remember when you used to carry Birkins." "Oh wait, those were mine, weren't they?" Ashley clutched his arm, laughing harder. "Ethan, stop. You're terrible." "What?" He shrugged, playing innocent. "I'm just concerned about her. Making sure she's doing okay after everything." What Ethan Caldwell didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, was that the woman he was mocking owned the very ground he stood on. And she was about to prove it. 3 years earlier, the courtroom had smelled like furniture polish and destruction. Zara sat ramrod straight at the defendant's table while Ethan's legal team, for attorneys in suits that cost more than most people's monthly rent, painted her as a calculating opportunist who had seduced a brilliant entrepreneur and contributed nothing to his success. "Mrs. Caldwell brought no assets into this marriage," the lead attorney had said, his voice dripping with contempt. "No education beyond a bachelor's degree. No business experience. No financial acumen. She was a marketing coordinator making $45,000 a year when she met my client at a charity gala." The implication hung in the air like smoke. She was a gold digger who had gotten exactly what she deserved. The prenuptial agreement was airtight. Ethan's lawyers had made sure of it. After 7 years of marriage, 7 years of building his companies, hosting his clients, managing his household staff, being the perfect wife, Zara walked away with $200,000, a 3-year-old Honda Civic, and a reputation in ruins. The media coverage was brutal. "Tech mogul's ex-wife gets reality check," read one headline. "Caldwell divorce, when prenups protect innovation," read another. Anonymous sources, clearly fed by Ethan's PR team, described her as vindictive, entitled, and delusional about her contributions. Zara remembered sitting in her lawyer's office, reading the settlement terms. Her attorney, a kind woman who'd taken the case pro bono, had looked at her with genuine pity. "I'm sorry, Zara. There's just nothing more we can do. But Zara hadn't cried. Not in that office. Not in the courtroom. Not when she drove away in that used car with everything she owned packed in the trunk. She'd made herself a promise instead: never again. Never again would anyone have the power to erase her. Never again would her worth be determined by someone else's narrative. She had $200,000 and a certainty forged in humiliation. It would have to be enough. The office above the dry cleaner didn't have air conditioning. In the summer of that first year, Zara would work 16-hour days with the windows open, the smell of industrial detergent rising through the floorboards, sweat sticking her blouse to her back. She had one desk, one laptop, one phone line, and a business plan she'd written in the parking lot of the courthouse. Her first client was a family-owned bakery hemorrhaging money in a rapidly gentrifying neighborhood. She charged them $5,000, half her usual rate, if she'd had a usual rate, and spent 3 months rebuilding their business model from the ground up. New suppliers. New pricing structure. A digital presence that actually converted browsers into buyers. 6 months later, they were profitable. 9 months later, they'd opened a second location. Word spread quietly through the network of small business owners who couldn't afford the big consulting firms. Zara took every client she could handle, learning as she went, developing a framework that combined financial restructuring with operational efficiency and market repositioning. The work was relentless. She learned private equity law at night, taking online courses while eating takeout at her desk. She studied acquisition structures, debt instruments, leveraged buyouts. She built relationships with small investors who saw something in her that Ethan's lawyers had missed: hunger. Her first major deal was a $10 million acquisition of a struggling logistics company. She restructured it, installed new management, and sold it 18 months later for $23 million. Then came the next deal. And the next. By year 2, she'd moved into a real office downtown. By year 3, Vanguard Equity Partners had $280 million in assets under management and a reputation for turning distressed companies into industry leaders. Ethan never noticed. He was too busy being photographed at galas with Ashley, announcing new ventures, living his very public life. Zara preferred the shadows. The shadows were where empires were built. And she was patient. So, Zara. Ethan's voice pulled her back to the present, to the terminal, to the performance he was staging. I heard you started some little consulting thing. How's that going? Still doing PowerPoints for mom-and-pop shops? The crowd around them had grown. At least 30 people now, phones out, watching the show. Zara met his eyes for the first time. Her voice was quiet, controlled. It's going well, Ethan. Better than well, actually. Ethan threw his head back and laughed. Oh, that's fantastic. Really, I'm happy for you. What are you pulling in now? 6 figures. That's great, sweetheart. Really. Good for you. He turned to Ashley, stage whispering loud enough for everyone to hear. I make that in a day, but still, good for her, right? Ashley nodded enthusiastically, her hand on his chest. It's so important to have hobbies after a divorce. My life coach says. I don't make 6 figures, Ethan, Zara interrupted. Her voice was surgical in its precision. Ethan's smile widened. Oh. 7 figures. Well, look at you. That's. Or 7. His smile faltered. Just slightly. Or 8. The silence that followed was electric. Ashley's hand dropped from Ethan's chest. His face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and something that looked almost like fear before settling back into condescension. Come on, Zara. Don't be ridiculous. You're saying you make over $100 million. He laughed again, but this time it sounded hollow. From consulting? In 3 years? Zara's smile was arctic. I'm not saying I make it, Ethan. I'm saying I have it. There's a difference. Through the terminal windows behind her, something caught Ethan's eye. A sleek white aircraft was taxiing toward the private gates, its metallic surface gleaming in the afternoon sun. A Gulfstream G650ER. The most expensive private jet in commercial production. Retail price, $80 million. Airport staff were suddenly everywhere. 3 ground crew members in high-visibility vests jogged past the lounge windows. A manager in a crisp uniform spoke urgently into a radio. The energy in the terminal shifted, the kind of barely controlled chaos that only happens when someone extraordinarily important is arriving or departing. The Gulfstream came to a stop at gate 417, 50 feet from where they stood. Ethan watched, his arms still around Ashley, his brain trying to process what his eyes were seeing. That aircraft cost more than some of his companies were worth. More than his Malibu beach house. More than. Ms. Mitchell? A flight attendant in an immaculate navy uniform approached Zara, tablet in hand, professional smile in place. Your aircraft is ready for boarding. We've completed the pre-flight check, and your crew is standing by. We're cleared for takeoff in 20 minutes to Zurich, as requested. The departure lounge went silent. Every phone that had been recording Ethan's performance swiveled to capture Zara's face. Ashley's mouth fell open. A woman in a business suit actually gasped. Ethan's face went pale. Actually pale, the color draining from his perfectly tanned skin like someone had opened a valve. That's a mistake, he stammered. His voice cracked slightly. That jet costs more than. Zara turned to face him fully for the first time. Her expression was serene, almost kind. More than you're worth. The words hung in the air between them. Yes, Ethan. It does. She let that sink in for exactly 3 seconds before continuing. The Gulfstream G650ER retails for approximately $80 million. I paid cash last year. It's registered under Vanguard Equity Partners, that's my firm, in case you were wondering about the little consulting thing. Ashley took a small step away from Ethan. It was subtle, but everyone noticed. Ethan's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. You can't, there's no way you can afford it? Zara finished. You're right to be skeptical. It's a significant purchase. But when you're managing a portfolio worth $280 million, these decisions become more about efficiency than extravagance. The number hit the crowd like a shockwave. Someone whispered, did she say 280 million? Ethan's hand fell from Ashley's waist. The man who entered the departure lounge moved like a scalpel, precise, expensive, and designed to cut. Marcus Reed was senior partner at Whitmore and Associates, the kind of corporate law firm that didn't advertise because they didn't need to. His suit was Brioni. His briefcase was Italian leather. His expression was the professional neutrality of someone who delivered devastating news to Fortune 500 CEOs and walked away without blinking. He walked directly to Ethan. Mr. Caldwell. It wasn't a question. My name is Marcus Reed. I represent Vanguard Equity Partners. He extended a manila envelope with the same casual efficiency one might use to pass the salt. You've been served. Ethan took the envelope mechanically, his hands shaking. What is this? Open it, Marcus suggested. His tone was pleasant, almost friendly. The departure lounge had become an arena. Every passenger, every staff member, every person within sight had stopped to watch. This was no longer just viral content, this was history being made. Ethan's hands fumbled with the envelope. Inside were documents. Legal documents. Pages and pages of them, dense with corporate language and financial figures. His eyes scanned the first page. Then the second. Then he went back to the first page, as if hoping the words had changed. They hadn't. This says. His voice was barely a whisper. This says Vanguard Equity Partners has acquired controlling interest in Caldwell Technologies. And Caldwell Innovations, Marcus added helpfully. And Caldwell Ventures. All three of your companies, Mr. Caldwell. Vanguard now holds 67% of combined equity across all entities. Ashley's face had gone from confused to horrified. Ethan, what does that mean? Marcus turned to her with the patience of someone explaining gravity to a child. It means, Miss Fletcher. Ashley Fletcher. Miss Fletcher, it means that as of 9 a.m. this morning, your boyfriend's companies are now owned by his ex-wife. The debt instruments his companies held were purchased by Vanguard over the past 18 months through a series of strategic acquisitions. When those debts went into default, which they did, 6 months ago, ownership transferred according to the terms of the original lending agreements. Ethan's knees actually wobbled. Marcus pulled out his tablet with the casual efficiency of a surgeon selecting instruments. Would you like the detailed breakdown, Mr. Caldwell? Or should I summarize? Ethan couldn't speak. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. I'll summarize, Marcus decided. Caldwell Technologies has been operating at a loss for 26 months. You took on substantial debt to maintain appearances, the Malibu property, the yacht, the various lifestyle expenses. His eyes flicked to Ashley with clinical detachment. When your primary venture capital firm declined to extend additional funding last year, you secured bridge loans from 3 separate entities. He swiped his tablet. What you didn't know, what you couldn't have known, given the shell company structures involved, is that all 3 of those entities were subsidiaries of Vanguard Equity Partners. The color had completely drained from Ethan's face now. He looked like a man watching his own execution. Your debt went into technical default in August, Marcus continued. Per the terms you agreed to, default triggers an equity conversion clause. Vanguard exercised those clauses across all 3 lending agreements. The math is straightforward, Vanguard now controls 67% of your assets, Mr. Caldwell. He closed his tablet with a soft click. Effectively, your ex-wife is now your boss. The words landed like artillery shells. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Oh my God." Ashley had backed up 3 full steps now, her designer handbag clutched to her chest like a shield. Her eyes were doing rapid calculations, the kind of arithmetic that wealthy girlfriends excel at when the money suddenly runs out. Ethan finally found his voice. It came out strangled, desperate. You can't do this. I'll sue. I'll fight this. I have lawyers. You had lawyers, Marcus corrected gently. Whitmore and Associates was retained by your companies for corporate counsel. As of this morning, we represent Vanguard's interests. Which means we represent Ms. Mitchell's interests. Your personal attorney, Gerald Hutchinson, I believe, can certainly review these documents, but I assure you they're airtight. Zara had been silent through all of this, watching with the serene patience of someone who'd waited 3 years for this exact moment. Now she stepped forward. There's more, Ethan. Zara's voice was calm, almost gentle. The kind of tone you'd use to explain something to a child. She held up her phone, the screen glowing in the terminal's fluorescent light. I also have documentation of your tax fraud. The offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands under your mother's maiden name. The falsified property valuations you used to secure the 2023 credit line. The SEC filings that deliberately understated your debt-to-equity ratios. Ethan's eyes went wide. How did you? And the sexual harassment settlements, Zara continued, her voice never rising. 3 of them, to be exact. The ones you hid as consulting fees in your corporate accounting. Jennifer Martinez. Stephanie Chen. Alicia Washington. She paused, letting each name land. All women of color, interestingly enough. All paid between $75,000 and $150,000 to sign NDAs and go away quietly. Ashley made a sound like she'd been punched. I spent 18 months building the paper trail, Ethan. Every transaction. Every shell company. Every falsified document. I have emails. Recorded phone calls. Bank transfers. All of it legally obtained through discovery processes in the corporate acquisitions. She tapped her phone once. And as of 20 minutes ago, all of it has been forwarded to the Securities and Exchange Commission and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. They're very interested in your creative accounting practices. Ethan's knees buckled. Actually buckled. He grabbed the back of a chair to steady himself. You're insane, he managed. This is revenge. This is justice, Zara said quietly. This is what happens when you underestimate someone. When you assume that destroying someone's reputation means destroying their capability. When you forget that the woman you tried to erase actually paid attention during those 7 years of marriage. Ashley was backing away now, her heels clicking on the marble floor. Ethan, I need to go. I just remembered I have a thing. A very important thing. Ashley, wait. But she was already gone, practically running toward the exit, her leopard print dress disappearing into the crowd. Marcus Reed checked his watch with practiced indifference. Ms. Mitchell, your aircraft is ready whenever you are. Zara nodded. She looked at Ethan one last time, really looked at him. The man who'd humiliated her in court. Who'd painted her as worthless. Who'd laughed while his lawyers tore apart her character. He was crying now. Actually crying, tears running down his face. Goodbye, Ethan, she said. And she walked toward her $80 million jet without looking back. 6 months later, Zara Mitchell was on the cover of Forbes. The photograph was striking. She stood in front of a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking Manhattan, wearing a charcoal suit and the same serene expression she'd worn in that airport terminal. The headline read, "The $280 million Woman, How Zara Mitchell Turned Betrayal into an Empire." The article detailed everything. The divorce. The airport confrontation, now legendary on social media, with over 200 million views across platforms. The strategic genius of her acquisition strategy. The quiet, methodical way she'd rebuilt herself while the man who destroyed her continued performing for an audience that would eventually abandon him. Ethan Caldwell's assets had been seized by federal authorities. He was facing 17 counts of securities fraud, tax evasion, and obstruction of justice. His trial was scheduled for the fall. Ashley Fletcher was engaged to a hedge fund manager she'd met at a charity gala, the same kind of gala where Ethan had once met Zara. But Zara wasn't thinking about Ethan anymore. She was on a commercial flight, first class, by choice, working on her laptop. Vanguard had just closed a $500 million fund exclusively for women of color-owned businesses. The applications were overwhelming. Brilliant entrepreneurs who'd been overlooked, underestimated, told they didn't belong. Zara knew that feeling. "Excuse me." She looked up. A young black woman in the seat next to her was staring, her eyes wide with recognition. Are you Zara Mitchell?" Zara smiled. "I am." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "You're the reason I started my business. I saw the video. The one at the airport. I watched you stand there while he tried to destroy you, and you didn't break. You didn't explain yourself. You just let your success speak." She wiped her eyes, laughing at herself. "I'm sorry, I'm emotional. But I quit my job 3 weeks ago to launch a tech startup, and I'm terrified, and seeing you here feels like a sign." Zara closed her laptop. She'd been where this woman was, terrified, alone, certain she would fail. "Tell me about it," she said. And for the next 2 hours, she listened. She offered advice. She made introductions via email to investors in her network. When they landed, she handed the woman her card. "Send me your pitch deck," Zara said. Vanguard is always looking for bold founders. The woman clutched the card like it was made of gold. Zara walked through the terminal, her simple handbag over her shoulder, and thought about revenge. The best revenge wasn't destruction, though Ethan's had been satisfying. The best revenge was building something so magnificent that humiliation became impossible. The best revenge was making sure the next woman never had to feel powerless. The best revenge was changing the game entirely.